What happened to San Jose? We're still early. We're not supposed to start until 7:20, right? 7:30. So give them time. They need to go get ready for it. There's an echo in the sound here. Is there a reason for that? Okay, let's get started. Testing. Okay, hello everyone. I think it's fine, I think. Is there really an echo or not? This is the first instructional talk of the first week of the Chan Chi. Yes, there's an echo, definitely. There's no way for us to automate this. Huh? The bells are not ringing, the woodfish are not being hit. Echo, it's like every day is new technical issues. It's like you guys don't know what you're doing. Thank you. Okay, we get going anyway. I don't care, you figure it out. Turn the sound on for me, please. When I first started teaching, it's because my late Chinese teacher told me to teach. And that's about all the instructions he gave me. So I had to figure out how to teach. And I remember early days I was invited to go to San Jose to teach meditation. I ran into a Guo something, I forgot his name. So he was a lay person at the City of 10,000 Buddhas when I was a novice, so he recognized me. And later he said he asked to become a left-form person, but either he didn't last very long there, but he decided to go over to Master Sheng in Hong Kong, who's also recognized as by us as a WeiYang patriarch. So he went there, and then he studied under Master Sheng, who is now dead, for a number of years, and then he left him as well. He went to San Jose, and they live in a house where his partner spoke sutras, and he does whatever he does. And he told me very proudly, he says, how have you been practicing? I said, oh, I'm just fumbling around. I have no idea what I'm doing. I really have no teacher, don't know where to go, don't know what to do. Just meditate and pray that something works. And he says, told me very proudly, as I've been going to this, I think, Gāo Mǐn Sì, which is one of the most famous Chan monasteries in China, for several years now. So that's the Chinese tradition. The Chinese Chan tradition is you meditate, and then every year you go to this chán where you practice intensively meditation for the duration. It could be 7 weeks, 9 weeks, or maybe 100 days. And so that's their tradition. So Gāo Mǐn Sì is one of the most famous Chinese Chan monasteries in the world. So if you go there, you dare go there year after year after year, and he would stay there. He says, I would go to China and practice in that monastery for about several months every year. And I come back here, and because my base is here, but actually I go to China for training. Very proud of that. And little did he know that I could recognize his level. I said, you've been going in this Chan monastery for several years, 8 months out of the year, and how come your level is so low? I was telling myself, I was asking myself, why is your level so low? So this is the problem with Chinese Chan. They have this tradition of doing certain things, and they continue to do that, and they don't quite understand why it's done that way. Let me tell you why these people are not progressing. Because they don't have the proper instructions. And that's why it is an honor, it's a privilege, it's tremendous blessings for us to be able to listen to the proper Chan instructions. So let me assure you, these Chan instructional talks are critical in your training. Because that's the difference between you and that particular monk. He's stuck. He doesn't know he's stuck. He's doing all the wrong things, has a wrong attitude, he does so many things that monks nowadays do that are wrong, and they don't even know. Okay? And that's why Chinese Chan is regressing, in my humble opinion. That's why Master HsuanHua, my late Chinese teacher, had to come here, because people here have more potential than those over there. Okay? Not necessarily Caucasians, but the residents here have more potentials. They can reach higher levels than over there. And that's why the teacher, if you're like Master HsuanHua, they have to go find the Dharma Vessels, if you will, meaning the people who are able to be trained, who can be trained, who can absorb the teachings. So that's why when we do these Chan Qis, when we teach Chan, the instructional talk portions are extremely critical. Okay, it seems like, because I went over to Master Sheng, remember that WeiYang patriarch who is in Hong Kong. He's a 6th ground bodhisattva. in my opinion. And I only heard, I met him, but he was at the final days of his teaching career, so he was in teaching. I was there for 2 or 3 days, practicing as part of their 100 days chán that they do every year in Hong Kong, Gāo Mǐn Sì, in Lantau Island. And he was there, but he wasn't teaching anymore. He's on his last breath. And not long after that, he passed away after I left. But I was there. I was able to see his disciples. I was able to later recognize his disciples' levels as well. Okay, and the comments of his disciples who related Master Sheng versus Master HsuanHua's instructions. So when I was there, they practiced chán. They sat for 10 hours, 12 hours a day for 100 days, and no instructions, no instructional talks. And that's why they are where they are. I don't know what Master HsuanHua taught his disciples exactly because I wasn't there. Okay, all I have in terms of chán training from Master HsuanHua are his books, honestly. So they called, these books are collected sayings or teachings or lessons they felt are important from Master HsuanHua, and that's it. So I read those. So I never received direct chán instructions from Master HsuanHua. Okay? And so I'm always hungry to find out what he taught his disciples. So this is why we've been listening to Master Heng Lai's chán instructional talks. And this is where you can tell the teacher's level. For some reason, these videos are leaked out because they're not supposed to be leaked out. So it's an honor, privilege to be able to listen to his instruction because he's a Caucasian who learned Chinese chán from a Chinese monk, and he's trying to teach whoever attended his chán training class here, and you have to realize that the instructions are vary in nature. The instruction basically has to come from, depends on the level of the teacher, number one. Number two, it has to correspond to the level of the students. Okay? But it is to me, I'm curious as to what this Caucasian monk picked up from his Chinese teacher in terms of WeiYang chán, because he declared that he's only interested in practicing meditation, chán meditation. That's the only thing that he specializes in for 50 years. So I'm curious to learn from this venerable WeiYang chán student from Master HsuanHua. So that's why so for the next 9 weeks, we probably would like to listen to some more chán instructional talks from Master HsuanHua, the real source. But before that, I'd like to try to see if we can see what the second generation, my generation, these Caucasian monks picked up from their Chinese masters. Okay, and unless you object to it, unless you find it boring or something, then we can move on to the other stuff. But this is the last video that we have of him, and there's one more somewhere in whenever. And I think I I think after this video, I really don't have time anymore to listen. So, and just like you, this is the first time I'm listening to this as well. So feel free to ask questions. Feel free to interrupt me anytime, as usual. And finally, the reason the Chan instructions are very important is because that's how the certain teachings is imparted to you. The certain teaching enables you to reach certain enlightenment. Okay? This is the purpose of the Chan Qi, is to help you, number one, pave the way for enlightenment. Number two, reach enlightenment. And you cannot reach that unless you receive certain teaching. Okay? And that I dare say that what differentiates us from them. I don't know why my late Chinese teacher didn't seem to have teach them certain teaching at all. Okay? So part of my curiosity is to verify where they're at, what they know about certain teaching and so forth, and how they train the people, why the people are like that, why they're like that. So I'm curious, to tell you the truth. Okay? But I'm learning as well. I assure you I'm learning as well. So I hope you can pick up something from here. If you have questions or doubts, please ask. Because the purpose of Chan, for Chan to prosper in the West, we have to transmit to you third generation certain teaching. If not, Chan will die. Just like it died in China. I'd be hard-pressed for you to find certain teaching, a place where people, of course, there's always exceptions, where the Bodhisattva, Guanyin Bodhisattva, Universal Bodhisattva would come and teach you individually in China, or as well as in Kamchatka or whatever, okay, for whatever the reasons they're doing it. But in terms of an establishment where you can go and receive training, okay, where we selectively train you and selectively pick the people, the Dharma vessels, to transfer to you the knowledge, the Chan knowledge, the Chan skills, okay? That requires establishments, okay, like temples, Chan Monasteries, and so forth. Okay? And so, from what I heard, I have not been to China yet, but from what I've seen from the people who came back from China, or especially the young Chinese generation, okay, I can see why the Chinese Chan masters has to come here, okay. All right, because if we don't transmit the Chan certain teaching to you, Chan cannot proliferate. So, personally, I feel it's very important to transmit that certain teaching to the third generation. Okay. Soon, maybe tomorrow or day after tomorrow, we discuss something that, a question from Korea, from Master Linji. Okay. And Korea, Seon or Chan, they call it Seon, is basically Linji Linji sect. We are WeiYang. Okay, I'm also have Linji, but my training is primarily WeiYang from my Chinese master. My Vietnamese master is Linji. Like most people in the world right now is Linji because WeiYang was discontinued in China. Okay, until recently, until Master HsuanHua revived it, and then Master HsuanHua, his successor, brought that to the U.S. It turns out, in my humble opinion, Master HsuanHua's WeiYang is higher than Master HsuanHua's WeiYang. So therefore the WeiYang he picked up was not from Master HsuanHua. Master HsuanHua only certified him as a WeiYang master. And it turns out part of the WeiYang have is a very advanced Sutton teaching that we hope that new third generation people will be able to be recipients. Okay? That's critical. Okay? And then in the future, we'll be going to all over, like my late Chinese master predicted. We'll be going back and say, we need to instill chán, to share chán with all over the world. It's not, it's meant to be for everyone, not for us here in the U.S. Okay, so here you come here to receive training, and then eventually we go all over, hopefully to share with Asia, Europe, and so forth. Okay, this advanced WeiYang Chan training. All right, any questions? All right, then you have no questions, then let's listen to this Chan Master Heng Lai and see how he teaches his disciples, his followers.
Gym is your sitting cushion. That's your gym. That's where you work out. So you can sit if you can sit full lotus for 10 minutes, great. If you can sit full lotus for half an hour, that's even better. If you can sit full lotus for a full hour, that's even better yet.
他说禅修是一个时间的问题，就像你在静锻炼身体一样，你要不断的去加强，然后一天比一天更好，就是你每天都要付出努力，不要就是打完这个禅期回去就懈怠了。
What happened? The sound is better now, but the Chinese translation, I still can't hear what that woman is talking about. The reason I ask is because if he explains it in English, and he seems like his followers are mostly Chinese, the question that were asked to him in the prior videos are from Chinese English. So that's why I'm curious as to how much is lost from English to Chinese now. You see that? You see the problem? The Chinese lost it, now they have to get it from English. So the translation is no good. It's not going to work.
Somewhere else, is there any method he can still work out?
You mean when you can't, like in an airplane?
And
like
rejoice because he seems to be the only monk over there
you can't sit in the
who teaches
lotus.
chán.
That's real suffering. Suffering within suffering. Yeah, you just try your best. You do everything you can as if you were in the lotus. You keep your back straight, concentrate, put your eyes down towards your nose, but don't close them all the way. That's another thing that gets your false thinking going, is you close your eyes all the way. Then all of a sudden you're lost in thought. So open your eyes a little bit, but not too much. Don't go like that. then you'll just start looking around. Oh, what's going on? So if you look at a Buddha image, you'll see how it's properly done, how the Buddha's eyes are just right there. Of course, he's in samadhi. But like a situation where you can't sit, you just can't sit in the lotus. And this happens a lot when I travel, because I have to, this year I got to go to Taipei, and then I got to go to Australia. Those are long runs, long train, it's 15 hours on a plane. And they don't give you any room on those planes anymore. They make them, the seats, every year it seems like they make the seats smaller and smaller and smaller. And they get them closer and closer and closer together. So it's real suffering. So I usually sit as long as I can, sit straight, and then stand up and walk back towards the back of the plane or the front of the plane or wherever I am, just to get the blood moving, and just treat it as a chán chi, but without the ability to sit in the lotus. You just have to try your best.
老师说，当你不能够结双盘的时候，你也要尽全力的去参禅，就是想办法把注意力转在话题上，然后你可以把眼睛就像佛像一样半闭着，就不要睁开开，也不要闭上眼睛。然后法师说，当他在旅游的时候，比如说在飞机上，他实在是没有办法双盘。他会起来走一走，在飞机那里走一走，就好像在行禅一样，就是尽自己可能的办法，让自己像在参禅一样。And I have something for his question. So what I felt yesterday is something that could help concentrate. So when you thinking something that you really interested in, it is easier to focus because you by nature you love it, right? So it's just kind of actual.
So that way you go further. 那样的话是我说想一个你比较感兴趣的话题的话，那样会跑得会更远。
但是你最后没有。
It's a shame because I can't hear what the Chinese are saying.
Return to the question that who you are.
So I don't know how much the Chinese are getting.
It's just a kind of some suggestion. It worked for me, but I don't know 是for everyone.
好，刚刚那个法师，有两个点，我想继续问两个问题啊。就是第一个的话呢，就是法师在前面做了个比喻，就是说我们在这个。
The first question I haven't answered yet.
You see, this is the.
First of all, everybody does this. You get into solving some problem in your life or whatever. How do I build this engine? How do I put together this house? How do I, that you start solving some false thinking question. It has nothing to do with Chan. I found that even though it's interesting to try to solve this issue in your life, whatever it is, like say, well, how do we solve this money I have to put in the bank, and then I got to start thinking about that. That you should break that up. Don't let it continue. If you start to get aware that, oh, I'm running away with my false thinking again, you should just chop that up. Say, okay, enough of that. Back to the Chan. You just got to take the rope from the water buffalo and drag him back into the path again, because the water buffalo has taken you off into the grass, and you don't want to go into the grass. You want to go down the path. So you should, when you find yourself lost in thought, as we say, when you are doing something like that, you should, and you become aware of it, you should say, oh wait, I'm wandering off. I need to bring this back, and come back and sit up straight again. Open your eyes. You probably have your eyes closed, and then go back to your meditation. Bring yourself to the present and work on your hu wato.
同学提了一个问题，就说他在打禅的时候，有时候的他觉得他去集中精力想一个他感兴趣的问题，那么的话就觉得会这样的话妄念就会少一些，然后呢身体也会感觉做得舒服一些，也不会这么痛了等等，就是这种话题。然后呢他们俩 还继续在谈呢。然后法师就做一个解释，说如果出现这种情况，应该 stop， 赶紧把自己那个思绪拉回来。他说生活当中有很多issue，比如说银行的钱呐、存钱呐，或者是我要造一个基建，我要 build up 一个 engine呐等等之类的这种诸如此类的这一类的那个话题是很多的，但这个不是参禅，跟参禅一点关系都没有。必须就像这个时候，实际上那个水牛的话已经去吃草了，这个时候你要赶紧警觉，用那个把那个牛鼻子用那个绳子把它赶紧拉回来，拉到现实当中来继续参禅。
I believe this is a introduction to Chan meditation, so the level is quite low, and that's why the instructions indicates it's pretty low level instructions. To say, for example, that to solve worldly problems has nothing to do with Chan is for low level people. When you reach higher levels, absolutely, you use Chan to solve world problems. It's because so that's why the instructions reveal who the students are and where the teacher is. All right. So another thing about the translation is very important to keep in mind. This the translation is very important too, because the translation acts like a filter. So, for example, when I speak the Dharma, I look at the people who translate. I see the levels. I say, oh, okay. So that's very important to be aware, cognizant of that the level of the person who translates, because the person who translates cannot understand the original intent. So you may need to elaborate more. Okay, so anyway. Any questions? Yes, Orange.
Master, I just have a question about the eyes. He's saying not to close the eyes. Is that the way you're teaching or recommending?
Well, yes, that's what the Chinese teach, especially my Chinese teacher said, don't close your eyes, leave them partially open, and the eyes should contemplate the nose contemplates the mouth contemplate the heart, whatever. And I really struggle with that. Okay, I never did any of those because it didn't make sense to me at all. How can the eyes contemplate the nose? When you're like this, I can't see my nose. And then how can my nose look at my mouth, contemplate my mouth? Since when can my nose contemplate? Not possible. So for me, intellectually, it didn't make sense. So even my master's instruction, I ignored it. I said, no, this doesn't work for me. I'm not going to do this. Okay? Because in the future, if I teach you that, you should raise your hand and say, how can the nose contemplate the mouth? How can the mouth contemplate the heart? That doesn't make sense at all. I don't know why the Chinese keep on insisting on doing that. It doesn't help. It creates more false thinking. Because I sat there and said, I'm contemplating my nose, and my nose is contemplating my mouth. Why? How can my nose contemplate my mouth? And now next time my mouth is contemplating my heart. How is it possible? So it creates more problems than it helps. So I really don't understand why the Chinese keep on insisting that. Okay? on doing that. But maybe it works for the Chinese, because for me, as a Western educated person, it just doesn't make sense. You have to tell me to do something I can do. Don't tell me something I cannot do. Now, it causes conflict intellectually. Yes, YouTube has a question.
There's a question from Tian Guo. They ask, there was a talk about when you lose focus, find something interesting to you to think about. This will help the focus. So what does Master say about this?
It works for you, that's good. It just doesn't work for me, all these things. I don't find it interesting that the nose can contemplate the mouth. To me, it's nonsense. It's too mystical. To this date, honestly, if I give you that instruction and people ask me, how can we do that? I say, I don't know. The purpose of Chan training is not about all these things. All these things are mechanical things. They are beginners for idiots, okay? And it's a good way to drive them away. Yes? You need something? You see my point? My point is that if I see too many of you, I say, okay, let's contemplate your nose. And then those of you who have tall noses can try to contemplate your mouth. And if you have good teeth, contemplate your heart. Okay? I would do that to confuse many of you so that many of you would say, doesn't work for me. I'm going somewhere else. So that only the good ones will stay. Okay? In our temples, we don't train Chan that way. We don't train Chan that's why I sort of try to tell you that our training style is like American, because the Chinese style doesn't work for me. Okay, I don't see how it works for a lot of modern days mind, if you will. It needs to be sensible to us. It has to make sense. It doesn't make sense, it doesn't help. For a person like me, I need it to make sense. If it doesn't make sense, I sit there and say, why am I doing this? Is that a good use of my time? So it doesn't work for me. These instructions don't work for me at all. Maybe it works for the Chinese. I don't know why the Chinese never complain. I imagine the young Chinese, that generation, are also very logical, because they go after the Western value systems. They look at money as a measure of success. They don't give a hoot about the fundamental Asian values, such as virtues, such as respectabilities, such as filiality. I don't know that many of them who do that anymore, especially young generation. It's all about money, 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 and about me. Okay, so for those people, unless they get their money's worth, they're going to drop out very quickly. It's not going to work for them. So when I first started, because my luck, my sheer luck is that I read it from the book. If Master HsuanHua would sit there and open his mouth and say, I'm going to do it, you should do this, looking at me, should you do this, I would have done it. But for me, I read it secondhand, the instructions. Like him, through him, is secondhand instructions to me. So I say, no, it's not going to work for me. But if you had a Chinese monk like Master HsuanHua who looked at you and said, you should contemplate your nose, and you should contemplate your mouth from your nose, and then from your mouth, contemplate from the heart, then I will have a different approach. Okay?
present the 10 cow herding pictures. You'll see them if you look them up, and you can Google it. And you'll see it's always represented by a small boy, very small, young child, Xiao little boy. And he's very light. And the water buffalo is a great big animal, big dumb animal, much more powerful and strong than the little boy. And that's how we kind of are in Chan when we first start. We have a very weak ability to force our minds to stop running around. So you have to use your smart. You have to be smart about it. And so the little boy has a rope, and the rope is tied to a ring on the nose of the water buffalo. And so he's got to gently pull the buffalo back again. So the buffalo will slowly turn its dumb head towards the right direction. Otherwise, it's just going to wander off, and it'll drag the boy behind it. So he has to be smart. He has to carefully bring it back again and be very patient. And that's an analogy that Shifu has always taught us. You got to really be patient with your monkey mind, because it wants to go wherever it wants to go.
So this is the traditional Chinese way of teaching Chan as well. They explain it in terms of 10 pictures of buffalo herding to explain your stages in your Chan progress. To me, I never liked them because I feel it's too Chinese. And let me ask you this. If you have 10 pictures, you have picture number 1, stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, stage 4. What does it sound like to you? It's gradual. You know why I do it gradual? That's why I do it gradual. Everything I do, I don't give a damn about gradual. It's too slow. How much more time do you have in your life to go like this? Picture number 1. Whoa, where am I? Picture number 2. Which picture am I at? It creates problems. It's not solving anything. It's not the purpose of Chan. Our WeiYang is brutal. We don't beat around the bush like this. Okay? Someone get me the mouse again, please. I will shoot myself in the foot, okay? And it's supposed to be funny. If I have real wisdom, I wouldn't be doing it. You see the point? I need the mouse. I'm going to throw it away to make a point. Thank you, Lord. Weasel my way out of it again. Oh, you lost it? Did I break anything? Thank you. Okay? It's too slow. Even if I teach beginners, I wouldn't teach this slow style. Because why not? Because what if one of you is supposed to receive certain teaching, and I have to slow you down because of everyone else? Then I'm doing you a disservice. The teaching cannot serve the sharp roots people. That's not WeiYang. WeiYang is extremely broad range. In the same instructions, it should work for your low level to all the way to high level. Who needs the 10 ox herding things? Too Chinese. Yes, YouTube question.
We have a follow-up from Tian Guo. Wouldn't it be false thinking if you find something to think about? I'm asking this because it was the talk in the video.
I'm not sure what he's teaching. I just explained to you that I don't necessarily agree with them. If they can do that to their Chinese followers, fine. I would not do to my own Chinese followers. Okay? So we have our own style of teaching. It turns out that my students have been training people in Chan, and I'm pleased to say that they've been helping a lot of you progress along a lot faster than the Chinese style. And that's good enough for me. Okay? So if you want to follow the Chinese style, by all means, okay, follow them. And this is why we are studying them, getting exposure to them for our own reference. But because I need to be honest with you, I never learned a Chinese style the way these people did, because my Chinese teacher never directly taught me. He taught me differently, not like this. Okay? What he taught me is sudden teaching. Never like this. So I have to figure out, it worked for me, but would it work for you? So that's why I had to figure out for 15 years.
有10个境界，永远就是一个小孩子和一个大水牛，开始的时候就是不是开始，这整个这个图它是10幅图，大家可以去体会，就看那10幅图，它是一步一步的怎么那个从一个小孩子他怎么去降服一头巨大的牛，那头牛的话就是我们的那个妄念，那个开始的时候小孩子的力量很小，牛的力量很大。但是话，每一次他必须非常小心翼翼的把那个牛的鼻子拴了一根绳子，把那个绳子，当牛要跑出去践踏庄稼，要去吃草，要去就是按照他的想法去走的那个方向去的时候，这个小孩子总是小心翼翼的把这个牛拉回到正确的轨道上来。所以我们想做的事情就是这件事情，就是说怎么当思绪纷乱的时候，这个牛要跑出去了。大水流，然后我们得把它牵引回来。
I know Shifu used to tell me, because I get really upset and angry that my mind's running around. He says, you can't get angry at your mind. You can't get angry at your false thinking. He says, don't lose patience with yourself. You have to be very patient. And bring yourself back to the present and work on your meditation topic. Again and again, just be very patient. That's the main theme he always used to say when you first start out in Chan, in meditation. You want to be just patient with yourself. Don't be angry at yourself for false thinking. Don't say, oh, why am I doing this? I'm really bad. I shouldn't be doing it.
See, this is also one of the signature teaching from my late Chinese teacher, patience. You have to be more patient. When you learn Chan from us, we teach you to be more patient and say you have to be patient with whatever. Huh? Hey, you instructors, do you teach them like that? Did I teach you like that? I'm asking you, those of you who have been teaching people Chan meditation, do you teach them to be patient like these people or not? Someone say, speak up.
Master, sometimes I told them to be patient because you have to endure the pain, black pain, and you get to be patient with that.
Okay, what about the rest of you? Anyone else? How do you teach people? You teach your students, you mention patient, you have to be more patient or whatever. Do you? It may work for the Chinese. But let's say that you, a Westerner, and you have to drive 45 minutes to come to a Chan meditation class, and you have to pay like $10 or $5 for the class. You're supposed to donate $5, $10 for class. Okay? And you say you have to be more patient. Would that work? My point being that the Chinese, they say, patience, patience, but it is not, how can we say it? It's not palatable, it's too vague. This is my problem with Chinese training. If you tell me that I have to be more patient, it would not work because I'm very impatient. Okay? I'm very impatient. I hate wasting my time. So you tell me you have to be more patient, that's not going to help me. I know a lot of my peers, where I come from, you cannot tell them to be patient. You have to give them something to solve. You have to give them a problem to fix. You give them a challenge. You don't need to tell them about patience. Are you listening, children? Don't need to teach them patience. If they're about to quit, then you tell them, okay, I'm too bad, I'm sorry, it's not working out for you. You just need to be more patient, and goodbye. That's a parting words. But if they stick around, don't teach them about patience. There's no need to teach them about patience. It's about giving them something to do that's difficult to do. Like the Chan Chi here is very demanding. 3 o'clock, you get up and you meditate. Okay, you're sleepy, you can't get your eyes open. And it's going to be like that for 2-3 weeks. Because the whole day is so tiring. You get up at 3 and you go to bed at around midnight. Okay? So it's very challenging. And that's the spirit of our Chan training. We challenge you. It's not easy for you to do. Don't tell me about patience. Patience is not going to help me. But because I come from, in my prior life, okay, I challenged myself like most people, okay? In our education, we improve because we find it challenging, that we find a challenge that's worthwhile for us to pursue. That's very Western-oriented, yes or no? There's nothing to do with our patience. It's about desire, it's about greed, yes? Patience doesn't pay. Greed pays. Yes? So for us starting out, to tell us to be patient, go to China. Okay? It doesn't work. Is it clear? There's no need to teach them about patience. Give them something difficult for them to do. Say, see if you can do this. Is it clear? That's our style. American style is that we challenge you. We're going to ask you to do something that's difficult. I know your legs are very, very difficult for you to get in full lotus. I tell you what, try to get into full lotus. See how soon before you can do that. Because anyone can do that. That's our style. We challenge you. I know it hurts like hell right now. You'd rather lie down and get some rest. I'm not sure you can last another day tomorrow. So if we tell you patience, how does it help you? At the end of my strength, I'm exhausted. I'm exasperated. I'm fed up with myself. I worry about my family. I worry about COVID-19. I worry about my jobs. And I have to be patient on top of it? Nonsense. Okay, remember, patience is the last word. It's the parting word, not instructions. You've got to be more patient. Goodbye. Have a happy life. Okay? That's our style. It's not for everyone. And you should be lucky we challenge you. If we don't feel that we could challenge you, we don't say anything. You have to figure it out yourself.
Come back, water buffalo, come back to the path. And then just slowly work on that. And you have.
And the problem when the Chinese using these abstract concepts works in the culture, because the monk says, you're supposed to, you have to be more patient. They say, yes, I have to be more patient. They accept it right away. It doesn't work in our culture. In our culture, we challenge. You know, I remember going to universities and the student look at the professor and says, no, you're not that smart. Why should I teach you? Why should I learn from you? I tell you what, just give me a test. Your lectures are too shallow. Okay? My peers, they look at the professors. You're too slow. So they have to challenge themselves. You see that? Patience is too abstract. It doesn't work. It doesn't work in our culture, boys and girls. Maybe when you go back to Asia, you might be able to teach them patience. Not in this country. All right? That's why you have to use your judgment. You can't, if you have to understand why the training is like that. There's a reason for that. Okay? It's not about patience. If you do it, you naturally become more patient. There's no need to bring up even the concept of patience. Yes or no? Many of you who survived so far, you all found yourself becoming more patient without even us telling you about patience. Yes? So why waste time talking about patience? If you're not patient, you quit. So what's the point about talking about patience? You don't listen anyway. Quit.
As time goes on, you have more ability to stay in the present. And I always say this is the most important moment, right? This moment, this very instant is the most important. There's nothing more important. Nothing in the past is more important. Nothing in the future is more important. Only this moment is the most important.
Finally, listen. This is what works for him. Only now. Okay? This is very Western. Live in the now right now. Okay? And that's very Western tendency. Okay? And so it's a form of self delusion. There's no now. It works for them.
有时候非常不高兴，非常愤怒，他自己的那种就是说妄念，然后就上人就说你没有办法，你不能对他生气，他要生气，你不能对他生气，因为那是你自己的思想，你自己的思想，你没办法生气，你只能唯有一个办法，就是你必须就是说忍耐。patient be patient 就是忍耐，然后的话，慢慢的就是说，就像水流把它拉回到正确的轨道上来，这是永远的一个就是说要做的，就是忘掉过去，忘掉未来，就是现在认为这个时刻是最重要的时刻，就停定在这个现在这个时刻，然后把这个妄念拉回到轨道上来。
And the Westerners, the non-meditation or non-Buddhist people like to use the concept, live in the now, only the now, not the past, not the future, or whatever. And it works for them, okay? But for us, Chan purist, you don't even think of the now. There's no now. Is that clear? This is for low-level people. There's no now. What now? What is now? Huh? What is now? What is now? You don't know? They're going to throw this at you, boys and girls. I teach my children to live in the now. Only the now matters. No past, no future, only the now. Why don't I teach you that? Huh? Why not? Koreans, be careful. They throw words at you. They throw concepts at you. It doesn't work. That's why you're not making progress, because you caught all these intellectual things. What is now? For Chan, what is now? Now is a false thought. Agree? For me, it's only now. That's a false thought. It works for low-level people because they have so many thoughts. They say, oh, instead of thinking of this, thinking of that, let me think of the now only, let me think of the now only. It's a false thought for us, Chan purists. There's no need to think of the now. It's nonsense. Worldly people do that. We Chan people don't do that. Okay? Do you understand? That's why it's American style Chan.
I have a reason for that suggestion, and then I will come to my question. So yesterday when I want to focus on who I am, this topic, I feel kind of not sure what to think of. So I need some context about this topic. So I just record my own life. and then but it still helped me focus on who I am, this topic, and then I found that myself is just it's just not the owner of my body. It's just something came from the past, and so it's in some level it's not real. And then I enter some kind of space which cannot feel the pain. And also I hear my heart is like boom, 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 boom. So it's very loud, and then I cannot feel my finger and I cannot move it. But I think it's just some condition. And today I am awake, but I think I'm dreaming. So I see image, video, or something happen, just keep happening in front of my eye, even if my eye closed or open. But my conscious is awake. I'm sure I'm awake. I didn't feel sleepy. So what is that? And what should I do in the future?
Well, these are all kinds of conditions that happen to us when we start doing Chan. Some people have this kind of experience. And as the master always says, you should feel good about it, that things are happening, things are popping. But don't get attached to them. Don't try to analyze them too much. People what they do is they try to make a big deal out of it. They say, "Oh, this is really important. I got to really. Why did this happen and that?" And actually, it's just kind of, it's just sort of sparks on the track. In other words, things are happening. That should make you happy, but that's about it. You don't want to start analyzing what's going on there too much. It's still that's just another kind of false thinking anyway. When you really break through and have an awakening of any kind, you'll know deep down. There won't be any question in your mind what happened, and you won't have to even ask a question. If you ever read the stories of all the different kinds of situations where cultivators have woken up and how they express that, you'll understand. They don't ask the teacher, "Oh, what does this mean? What happened?" No, they just immediately say, "Oh, where have I been? I've been asleep all this time. I finally woke up." Or they'll write a poem like Shulao did. They'll just say, "Oh, where have I've been away from my true home for so long." It's not as if you've returned home to your real self. It's not something you would have to ask somebody. What happened to me? What does this mean? What does that mean? They'll just know. You'll just know, because all of us have true wisdom. All of us have the Buddha nature, and when we wake up to it, we don't need to be asking questions about it. We'll just know right away. Oh, okay. Oh, where have I been? I've been asleep. And that's, then if there is a master near you who's awakened, they'll recognize it instantly. And there's some really great stories of master-disciple interaction. At the time the disciple wakes up, they'll have this incredible conversation. And it's almost like listening to two violins play together in a symphony or something. It's just, they're totally in harmony. Boom, 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 boom. Oh, you've just tuned into how the universe really is. So that's the best I can explain it.
我就是根据这2天自己的经验，一些境界上的问题问了来法师，然后来法师说，上人在的时候说过，打坐会出现各种各样的境界，但是有一个很重要的点，就是不要去执着它，不要去解释，尤其是不要去分析它为什么会出现这样的境界，或者这个境界是什么。然后 move on 就是继续去修行，就不要太执着这个境界，过去了就让它过去。然后来法师说他，
你说的， 才说的就是说，在过去很多公案当中，就是说有那个 disciple 开悟的情况，那么这个时候师父是能够知道的，师父知道了以后的话，在那个点上的话，他们就会有一种非常精妙的对话，那种对话完全不是用语言来做的，就像两把小提琴在互相的就是说，在这种交响乐声当中的这种和弦，所以说在这种声音，所以不要去在意，反正出现警戒，应该说还是很好，但是呢，不要去执着，不要去解释，特别不要去分析。
师傅好像还有一个point。What is the last point? So in the previous topic, you see 3 points. First one is don't analyze. The second one is for the people who woke up, they will talk to each other like to violin. And what is the third topic? Okay, never mind.
I don't know, what did I say? Oh yeah, you'll know it. We already know, because we already have the Buddha nature, all of us do. And you'll wake up to it. You won't have to be asking, oh, what does this little thing happen? Oh, well, I had this experience or I had that. You'll just say, oh, okay, I know now.
I have a question. Actually, I have been said meditation for quite a while, but really never been so patient to myself. I never can investigate Huatou because I feel that's not really fit on me. I feel really my mind cannot drilling down. But right now I deal with this kind of, when I sit down, I know any forethinking is forethinking. It's not true. So I just like that. I'm just listening to the water, especially come here. I like here. I listen in the water. I listen in the wind. I just, like you say, I'm just right now exist in this moment. I know I'm existing. Without my existing, anything is for thinking. But I know those force thinking. I don't refuse. I don't analyze. But of course, sometimes I follow the force thinking. But I will very soon. I will recognize. Oh no, I'm not go there. I need to turn back. Stay in this moment. And also, I another thinking is still thinking. No matter what force thinking is, they still come from my Buddha nature. So I just need recognize my Buddha nature and hold there. And then I think still like if this is still meditation.
This is just interesting now. Oh, now I like this one. Finally, someone who's knows what she's doing a little bit. The question is very dangerous. Just like a while ago, I pointed out to you is no now, because I would tell you if you go out there and start teaching Chan to universities and executives and CEOs, those classes, they take one listen to you and said, "You're an idiot." They don't say anything. Okay? And that's it. You're done. They're done with you. And therefore, your Chan is not for those people. Okay? And because it will catch you. It will catch you. The thought of now is also a false thought. You keep on teaching us to drop the false thoughts, and then you yourself use a false thought. That's nonsense. That's contradictory. Okay? So you see, this is why it's challenging for you, children, to go and teach people, because you will find out. Because you're lucky you don't have people like me, smart Alex like me, who in the audience that will shred you to pieces. Okay, because your logic has holes. Okay, and And I remember going to Korea, and this guy who's running for governor of that state at Seung-Ren-sa, the temple there, and Xianan was translating. At the time, she was a lay person, so she's doing the best she could to translate from English into Korean, okay? And the guy listened to her, and I was very grateful for that, because the whole time I went to Korea, I spent a lot of money in Korea, okay? Not for fishing, just Dharma propagation. We're supposed to lose money. We don't expect to make money. We have money that's available for Dharma propagation, we use it. That's it. We don't worry about anything. Okay? So after spending all that money and I see all the results, I thought, oh my God, this is not going well. This is not going well. I'm not reaching the people that interest me. Finally, that guy came, and the suit he's wearing was very unimpressive for a guy who runs for governor. Okay, I look at the suit and say, you Koreans don't know how to dress. What can I say? But the guy listened to me in English, and then listened to Xianan's translation to Korean. After he listened for about half an hour, listened to the question back and forth and my explanation, and he started scolding Xianan and said, that's not what he said. Your translation is incorrect. Okay? And that's so constructive to me, that you point out my mistakes, my problems. You understand? Because these people, when they see your problems, they don't say anything. They just blacklist you. You're inferior. It's a waste of time. Okay? You're a waste of time. So he's very constructive. That guy, he made me realize that we need still a long way to go. Still have a long way to go for translation into Korean. That's all we were. And we keep on improving. Okay? To improve to translation, number one, you need to have samadhi. Number two, you need to know the jargon. And you have to keep on improving. It's a continual improvement process, because you have to continue to increase your samadhi level as well as your language skills. Okay, so when you teach or when you listen, it's okay to criticize us. Don't be afraid. We're not offended. Okay? At least we pretend not to be offended. But we need to know our weaknesses so that we can keep on improving, because we're supposed to serve you. So that day, that candidate for governor was unimpressed. Yes, Orange.
Master, I recently have a chance to go to a different temple. Somebody brought me there. And speaking of constructive criticism, I noticed the master was not chanting well. So what's the best way for you to approach in way to improve, constructively tell that master to better himself?
This at the other temple or this temple?
What's the best way to approach that? No, other temples.
None of my business. Okay, I don't worry about them. Yeah, I'm not meddling into their businesses, because the way we train our people are different. The way I train my students are different. My left-home people are different. You are different. Lay people, left-home people, we train differently. Okay? We don't worry about chanting. We worry about building your samadhi first. And that's something, once you have samadhi, the emphasis is for the purpose of the ceremonies is to increase your samadhi, in case you don't realize it. Okay? When you participate in ceremonies, it's supposed to help you increase your samadhi. So if your Weino samadhi level is lower than you, how is he or she is going to help you? So that's why traditionally in Chinese temple, that guy, that the Weino guy, is very important. It's his kung fu is about second only to the abbot. Then he gets to be a Weino master. It's not the case anymore. Now the Chinese, they don't know how to train samadhi. That's why now they go for technique. They say you need to know how to inhale, exhale, prolong your breath, and so forth. Frankly, my dear, we don't give a damn. Okay? We want you to increase your samadhi first. And with the increase in samadhi, you keep on improving and improving, and you know what's going to happen naturally? Your voice will get better, your chanting gets better, and the ceremony quality increases naturally. So we take care of the root problems ourselves. Okay? Yes, we teach them, you know, this is where you hit the bell. Like my disciple, she still hits the bell at the wrong time. It drives me nuts. Okay? The Chinese ceremony is very precise. Okay? Okay? So it's like half a second late usually for this idiot. Okay? And it's like, oh, I'm supposed to hit the bell, that kind of thing. No. If you're in samadhi, just like when I'm talking to you, I am in samadhi. That's why I don't need to wear something on top of my head. Because while I'm in samadhi, you register a lot better than otherwise. Same thing, when you chant, you're supposed to be in samadhi. And when you're in samadhi, you know you're supposed to hit it here, you hit it there. So, because you're in samadhi of doing ceremony, you don't say, oh. Okay, it's very precise because it induces samadhi when you're that precise in a Chinese ceremony, which is not the case with Vietnamese ceremony, Korean ceremonies. It's not the same. In the Chinese, our method is to induce samadhi in you. Don't fidget. Stand there. If you can stand there without moving from beginning to end, that's called samadhi. It's very serious business for us. Okay? It's okay. You know, I see my students, they say, oh, yes, they're stressed out, they complain, there's too much work and so forth. And I can't be too harsh on them. But eventually, with samadhi, you know, they will get better. And when I notice in my disciples, when they go from increase their samadhi level, the ceremony improves drastically. That's natural. Okay? So in contrast, when you see that, when you pay attention to that, and you see that the quality of the ceremony between different temples, the major difference to me is samadhi level. It's not about the chanting. It's not about the arrangement of orchestra. the arrangement of orchestra doesn't help me become enlightened. Samadhi will help me become enlightened. That's our purpose. And the one thing that you find out, and many people realize, those who survive, standing there not understanding what the heck they're chanting, okay? Can't even pronounce it, don't know where you are, you're lost constantly, okay? You survive all those tests, then we find out that they get tremendous benefits from our ceremonies besides feeling better. So I can't really comment on how the other temples train their ceremonies, people who do their ceremonies. I mean, like, I learned from a Chinese, and I look at the Chinese, and no, I don't want we Americans to do it the Chinese way. We're going to do Samadhi way first. Okay? That's who we are. So that's why I used to listen to, my master's temple ceremonies, and now I listen to them, and I say, wow, this is so much better than ours. New Mountain Temple ceremonies used to be so bad. And I said, oh my God, one day, hopefully, good Lord, please help us. Someday, at least we must have some decent ceremonies. And eventually, but unlike them, my students mispronounce the Chinese characters. It drives me crazy too. So what can you do? They do so many things that's wrong. So I chose to concentrate on developing Samadhi and let the rest of it take care of itself. This is where we are today, 15 years later. Okay, so ours, ceremonies, to brag a little bit, the Samadhi level is far higher than theirs. That's why once you listen to ours, you go over there and say, hey, I don't like this. What? Something is missing. Okay? Now, personally, when I listen to those ceremonies I used to like so much, you know what they do to me? Give me headaches. All right. We have 15 more minutes. Actually, we have 15 minutes over, 25 minutes over. Let's try to see. Are you still interested in listening to Master Heng Lai's thing tomorrow? Or yes, go ahead, Orange.
Hello. Master, I remember you mentioned that Master Heng Lai, right? That his retreat is very difficult to set up. There's so many things that will stop him from succeeding. And I think you asked somebody to check if he ever finished his retreat or if he planned to have a future one. I don't know if you ever get the answer from that.
Master HsuanHua checked. He called them. And he found out that these are introductory chán classes, 3 days. They do it every year. They hold it once, and then he holds it once at his temple in Seattle, Snow Mountain, and then he holds 2 4-chees. That's about all the activities they do. They only hold introductory chán classes. Okay, yeah, so that's why I think that's pretty regular every year. I'm told from my.
So it's very difficult to do, but here at this temple, you've done it so many times. So what is the thing that you do that make it successful here?
I don't understand the question.
It's very difficult to do, but then for some reason you allow to do it so many times, so many years. So what's the different? What is the thing that you do to overcome the difficulty?
Who says we could overcome the difficulties? This has got lucky. The last 15 years, we got very lucky. Every year it's been a struggle for us. All kinds of problems occur. Right now I'm being sued for copyright infringement because we use a photo that's copyrighted, and we thought it's going to go away, but now we have to go to a lawyer. So all kinds of problems. And then it's COVID-19, no one comes. And of course, there are other problems as well. People trying to create discord in my Sangha and so forth, get my nuns to return to lay life. I have a lot of problems myself. So somehow we limp along. I cannot say we're successful. We just limp along, and we try to do this every year when we can, as long as we can. Because for us to do introductory class would be not a good use of my time. Maybe my students would do that. I don't have time to do those things. Okay? I'm not interested. And I just point out to you that our style is quite different from theirs. The Chinese style, to me, would not work for me personally. I just don't like it. I would have left. So why are we able to do that? Well, knock on wood. Okay, results speak for themselves. It doesn't matter why or how. We try, and then we seem to manage to pull it off. That's all. And it may not work anymore next year. That's just life. Okay, so you have to realize to be able to organize a Chanchi is very, very arduous thing to do, very difficult. Okay, you don't realize nowadays. We have so many people who are busy all day preparing for the lectures. Think about it. Okay, before I had to wing it. Now I have more students. They are, they spend all day doing translation and preparing slides and so forth and so forth. Okay, it's a lot more involved than before. Before I just used to wing it, every lecture. Now we get more information, more resources, a comparative look at the Chinese style of training versus ours. Tomorrow, or maybe the day after tomorrow, we look into Linji style. Linji's teaching to the Koreans. We embrace all kinds of information to try to learn from them all. Okay. And by the way, the Linji thing, I would like to have the Chinese explanation as well, not just the one slide. I want to see what the Chinese literature has for them. Okay, I'm sure the Koreans have it too. I just don't know why they don't teach to the Koreans, to their own people. Okay? Because many Koreans can read Chinese. They could have easily translated that as well. Okay? So that's why we have nothing to hide. If this is where the information we got, we said, this is what we got. We don't have to say that, oh, I'm repeating this information and claim it's my own information. We don't have to do that. Okay? We said, this is what's available that we found. Okay? And then let me explain to you what it means, our own spin on that, our own interpretations on that. Okay? Because if you get it, it's still Chinese Linji. When we explain it, it becomes American Linji. Is it clear? So we have nothing to hide. Get all the information and share it so that there's the proper reference. And maybe then we can learn why the Chinese explain it that way. And what is good to keep and what will not work for us. Okay? All right. Any questions? Would you like to continue or shall we stop here? Oh, he's about to give the answer. We should at least listen to that. So this question is from this person I think we should listen to this tonight, huh? Because tomorrow we might have forgotten. Okay? Might forget it. Because this person says, I've been meditating. Okay? I have all these problems. Yes, I know I have false thoughts, but this is what I do to deal with them. Okay? And let's see how Master Heng Lai, the second generation Chinese Chan, and they handle those type of students.
Tripoli always talks about your meditation topic, your Huato. He says you need to use poison to cure poison. He says all thinking is false thinking. So you just use this who is mindful of the Buddha, or who was I before I was born, or whatever the way you want to approach it, as kind of a poison to cure the poison. That's the way the master always talks about it. So yeah, you use an expedient device of your false thinking to bring yourself into investigating who you truly are.
翻译一下，我刚才问到来法师一个问题，就是说我打坐时间也比较长，但是呢，我从来不喜欢就是说，去参话头这种事情。但是呢，我总是知道，就是说，不管怎么样，你的这些妄念，当你有妄念的时候，你赶紧把自己拉回到现实当中来。我也是这样做的。然后呢，我主要在这里的时候，我主要喜欢听这个流水的声音。我觉得这个流水的声音，让你能够就是说你的脑袋的话，能够就是说比较空灵，比较安静。然后我时时的就记住我的，不管它妄念也好，什么念也好，都是我的真心出来的。我只要能够认识我的真心，那么我的妄念自然而然的话，它就退却了。但是来法师说，他说师父，来法师回答这个，我说我这个是不是 meditation？ 我说我这个是不是打坐？来法师说，师父总是告诉他们，这个参话头的话是用一种以毒攻毒的办法。所以的话，这样的话，你知道，就是说你在参话头的过程当中的话，就是说你可以就是说到达某种状态吧，以毒攻毒。
The Chinese answer or translation seems to be a lot more than the English answer. You see that problem? Okay, so and then plus I have the other problem I have is I forgot what the question was about. I love the question, but I forgot what it was. Anyone remember what was the problem that woman has? You weren't listening either, huh? Oh, very good. That's it?
So it's not when you see it will fade. It's when it fades.
Question, because I don't think she's happy with the answer.
What are those false thinking? if I'm follow one step, I can wake up, say, oh, I need to go, like go back, not follow that kind of force thinking. But I really want my whole thinking melt into that water for noises, and then feel I'm nothing, everything nothing. That's how I concentrate on.
Okay. We can have lunch now.
Question.
Oh.
For me, during this meditation, I feel something that I don't know. I try to use English to express as much as I can. Because during the process of investigation, the who am I or something like that, I have a feeling like the full lotus is the main purpose of that one, because inject the pain into the mind, and because of that pain, it has helped us to see who you are, like the way I am. So, for example, the first time I pull the feet in the position of full lotus, I feel like, oh, it's a lot of pain. Pull it down, feel good. Put it back in, feel pain again. So I start feeling, oh, those kind of process of feeling pain or feeling good, it's just the interpretation of the mind based on the condition of the body when it, the condition outside when it hit to the mind. And something like that. And investigating a little bit more, and I feel like the mind just goes through all kind of like a false definition. I start feeling like, why we cannot feel like the good feeling instead of, for example, we put feet down. Why we don't feel suffer because of that one, but just the pain. The mind say this is suffer, and the other one we feel happy. So the same thing, and then I investigate more, and I see suddenly I sit under the sun, and the sun put a lot of heat into my body, and my mind start feeling like, oh, this is hot. Like we have to do something to. It's not feeling comfortable. And suddenly the cool breeze blowing in, and I feel like, oh, it's good again. So I feel like those kind of things is like the mind has some layer to interpret this kind of input from outside environment and try to turn that one into the reaction. And I feel like that's a reaction of the mind interpretation. Is that the who we're talking about?
It's awful analytical. This, but basically, you're correct. I mean, the Shifu always used to tell us the reason you have pain in your legs is because we're having false thinking. If you were able to stop it, if you're able to stop your mind from false thinking, and your legs would immediately become very comfortable, almost immediately. The pain would completely dissipate as if it was a bad dream. It would just go away. You'd be able to sit in lotus all day, all night. You could sit for weeks. You could sit for months full lotus. You wouldn't even notice it. Because we have our false thinking, we have this thinking always going on. Shakespeare called it the pale cast of thought. And it's like you have an overcast day. And all that is thinking, just thought. And you can't see the sun. You can't see the mountains. You can't see anything because it's overcast all the time. And that's why our legs hurt so much. And so it is true that the master always said, that's why we have our pain. And it showed me when we did the 21 hours chans that I was able to sit after they hit the final fish for the last sit. Everybody could go back to their rooms and sleep for 3 hours or 3.5 hours. We just stayed there, and I was able to stay in the full lotus, and it was because it was just not because I had attained any enlightenment. It's because my my mind is finally just given up false thinking for a while and just relaxed my legs. And I was able to sleep in the full lotus, and it wasn't painful at all. But then the day would start again, and the pain would start up again, because my false thinking would start up again. It was almost on cue. You can almost set your watch by it. Say, oh, here you go. Here goes the pain. It's going to start again. So that's true. You do have that kind of thing. But ultimately, when we truly can wake up, then you don't have this pain. The master, he sat in Hong Kong on that rock. He went into samadhi for several, I think it was a couple of weeks, just sitting there. It didn't come out for 2 solid weeks. So that's how it is once you wake up your mind and stop it, is able to go into true samadhi, which is a state where you don't have a lot of false thinking. There's just none. It's just clear as a moonlit night. Okay?
They're translating. Again, the explanation is okay for this person, but it's not accurate. It's incorrect. But anyway, at your level, you wouldn't understand. You don't need to understand that. But this lack of precision here is not good for mid-range people. Would cause problems. This is why people don't come. When you go to Korea, the Koreans are going to ask you, why? How come your master doesn't teach you Hua Tou? Okay, it's because of this, because of all these things. And these people practice. They follow the Chinese and the Asian style and do the Hua Tou because it's supposed to be one of the better, more powerful chán Dharma doors. But they're having a lot of problems, especially the Koreans. They all do Hua Tou, and from what I've seen so far, none of them has broken through yet. On these Chinese people, I don't know what Heng Lai was practicing. Not sure it's Hua Tou or whatever. He never said which Dharma law he practiced. But the Hua Tou cannot be explained like this. It cannot be trained like this. I feel that the Chinese, when they teach Hua Tou, leaves too many variables that would cause a lot of problems. So unless you are extremely, extremely blessed, extremely good, you will not make it. Because the instructions are so abstract. It's like the impatience I talked to you about earlier. That would not work. Okay, so the way they give instructions here, doesn't help you build a foundation. So that's why we don't teach you Hua Tou, because if you really want Hua Tou, you should have a proper foundation first. I don't like the way the Chinese do Hua Tou, or the Korean do Hua Tou. They say, everyone do Hua Tou, do the investigation topic. It's not for everyone. Okay, number one. That's why we don't teach it. I prefer you build a foundation first. And some of you, even if you are blessed, you have superior roots, okay, you still need to build a foundation. So we help you build a foundation first. I see you get there quickly, then you can do Hua Tou. It's not a problem. But so it works. The training would work for all different levels, not just for the way the Chinese do it. It's only for the advanced people, and the facts speak for themselves. Okay, those who practice Hua Tou, 99.999% don't make it. That's why we don't teach it. Okay? And number two, we have WeiYang has so many more powerful Dharma doors than Hua To, I assure you. Hua To is too slow. Too slow for me. Okay? Any questions? Would you like to try to finish it? I'm kind of don't want to come back again. Okay.
可以治疗自己的五脏内腑的病，或者是说可以把自己不通的地方打通，那要如何做？She asking say if they
Not to move your head when you're talking, because that's what is called false thinking again. Okay? When you speak, speak. You speak and you go like this. Then you have two minds, not one mind. Okay? It's not chán. We frown at that. For us, we look at that and say, what are you doing? You are setting up a bad example.
I don't know about that. I imagine it would if you really woke up. There was, where medicinal, Shifu lectured this one time. There's a book on Chinese medicine. It's a classic. I forget the name of it. Maybe somebody here can remember, but there's a classic book out there from way back centuries ago from the Dharma master who was a monk, and he had attained enlightenment. And he wrote the fundamental classic of Chinese medicine. And he did it because he was able to, when he ate something, he was in samadhi all the time because he's already attained enlightenment. So when he ate something, he'd try something out. He'd just grab some plant sometime and eat it. Then he'd watch it go into his system. And because he's able to open up all his five eyes, he's able to see how his system would react to it. And whether it was good or yin or yang, whether it was good or bad, then he'd write it down. Sometimes he'd get really sick. But he'd say, okay, that's no good. And he'd try another one. And there's whole book is like that. Shifu lectured that one whole summer one time. And I just don't remember the title of it. Yao Xin Fu. Okay. And so
Emperor.
you could say, yeah, that's a good way to cure it. But you wouldn't want to, we don't do chán just to cure a body illness. That's not our primary objective. It's kind of like a sideline thing. That's a good thing that can happen, but we wouldn't do chán just to cure some sort of body illness.
好 ，OK， 刚才有个法师问，就是说，能不能够就是说通过禅坐的话，修复身体上的一些疾病？来法师说，这个我倒不清楚。但是呢，他推荐了一本书，就是上人写过一本书叫《药性赋》，大家可以去看一看。那个《药性赋》的话，那个药的话，实际上，当时上人也讲过这个故事。当时的话是这个开悟的觉者呀，他开悟了，那个药王，那个神农当时他是开悟的，他五眼是开了的，然后他就开始神农尝百草，然后各种各样的药他吃下去以后，他能看看那个书。
I have to disagree. Maybe for introductory people, but it's okay to try to heal your body when you meditate. You can become enlightened trying to heal your body. How's that? If that's true, wouldn't you want to try to heal your body while getting enlightened? Chán is so many Dharma doors, so limited, like these, it's so rigid, Because if you practice chán, say, no, I don't do that, that's low-level chán, okay? So don't worry about that. Yes, there was a question.
Master, he keeps on referring to awakening and asleep, and when you awake, and so what do that mean? I mean, I know outside there is the awakening, and you're in sleep, and this is not a body, and this is not happening, this is not real, and all this stuff. So now when he was, I remember you said something last time that this is real, we are here. And so right now I was thrown off with that. Especially a lot of people says, you know, all this is a dream, you're not guilty of anything, you shouldn't worry, you have to forgive yourself, and now you're gonna go to heaven because that's all it exists. So when he mentioned that asleep and awakening, now I was like, and then he's teaching Chan, and you say 50 years, so, okay, so I'm confused. And also my back pain. I had never been sitting for too long. It's been so, and it seems unbearable. You know, I'm just trying and pushing myself. I haven't feel hungry. And I think it's because I have built up mental toughness. And, well, you have seen me. I think if I would have tried this, I don't know, when I started coming to the temple, I would be screaming and crying, and I would have left already too. So, but yes, that's my two things. And if there is anything to alleviate the, I mean, just to endure the pain, that's what I keep on telling myself, that it is okay, you know, it shall pass. But if there is anything that I could do to maneuver, that will be great, to endure that, for me to prolong the fasting. So thank you.
It's a common Buddhist concept, the dreaming and awakening. Awakening refers to your awakening from a dream. Our lives are but a dream. It's real to us. It's only because we're confused. Our sense organs, what you see, okay, what we hear, are false. They only seem true to us, okay? So if you have real wisdom, you will see that all those things are false. They're all empty. And that's when you get to that level, the fourth stage or higher, you will see that, you experience that yourself. At that point, then it's called you awakened from your dream. So until then, the wonderful husband you have, that hunk of a man, you know, if you're not careful, another woman can steal it from you. That's real to you. Okay, that's for real. Because that's, to us, life is real to us. But for the enlightened people, they look at that and they say, no, it's not real, it's all empty, meaning that they can drop it. You're not attached to it. Okay, so for example, when we're still living in a dream, like right now, all of you are, your car is real to you. Yes? Your house is real to you. Okay? Money is real to you. Red cars are real to me. I admit. Okay? But when I become enlightened, someday, when I become enlightened, I see the red car. No big deal. It's not only because then I become so famous and so rich. Okay? But because at that time, I have real wisdom. I have awakened from a dream and see that the cars and the houses, the money, and all those things that I used to look as so real to me are actually empty, meaning that I can drop them easily. Okay? Just like I could throw this away because I pretend it's not real. And then I regret it. It shows, it proves that I am not enlightened. You see that? If I really was awakened, I throw it away, I even forgot about it. But here you go, I throw it away. Oh my God, that's $59 on Amazon right now. Still not on sale yet. Jesus. Okay? So that's what the Buddhists know, that if you practice, you get to the point where, just like many others before you, will awaken from your dreams, and you see that it's not a big deal anymore. The money, the fame, the love, all those things are nice to have, but you don't have them, it's okay too. So you have, that's called, you're no longer confused by these external things. Okay? As far as the pain and all those things, that's expected. Nothing new. Good luck. Green.
Mô Phật bà thầy, con nói con phải sám hối với mắc cỡ cho đại chúng hết chừng. Con theo thầy tới giờ ở trong này tu đó, bắt đầu là thầy có thiền thất đó, là không biết bao nhiêu năm tới giờ này đó. Mà con dở quá chừng, ngồi cũng không yên mà đứng cũng không yên nữa, làm những cái gì cũng không được hết trơn nữa. Bây giờ con cứ theo ngồi tới giờ thầy nói là mở khóa thiền tới giờ 15 năm rồi thầy. Không biết là từ ngày thầy mở khóa thiền tới giờ đó, ngồi thấy quan ăn dở quá chừng, ngồi á đau chân thì bung ra, rồi muốn nằm thì nằm, muốn ngồi thì ngồi, muốn ăn thì ăn, thấy mắc cỡ quá chừng thầy. Con
Master, I would like to repent to you because you've been organized the Janji for so many years, 15 years, right? And then I still couldn't follow. I cannot sit still. I cannot stand still. And then if I cross my leg, if it's hurt, I unbuckle. And then if I'm tired, I lay down. If I'm hungry, I go to eat. So I would like to repent.
I confirm that you're a lousy cultivator. On the other hand, you manage to survive. It's not about being a good cultivator, it's about survival. Success in itself is not quitting, because our chán training is a lot more demanding than it appears. I know, for example, online people, I'm very embarrassed about this. After lunch, noon, we start sitting again. So I make sure the last 2 days to come here at noon to see who sits. And guess what? No one. But I'm so wishy-washy, I don't dare scold anyone because I am hoping that maybe it's 9 more weeks, there's still time. It's just like with this woman, I look at her and said, maybe next year, there's still next year, okay? So that's chán training, by the way. Each of you will be asked to do things that are not abstract at all. Okay? It's not like patience or whatever. Okay? The Chinese love to talk like that. You know, Buddha nature, and patience, dream, all those things. It's too abstract for me. And you know, the problem is that I can relate this to you. You know, I talked to some young Chinese people and they said, you know, this chán training is so strange, so different, and while backing out, while giving up, the excuse is that I can't do it is because it's not real. She can't do it, but she doesn't quit. And what's the rationale for this person to quit? He says, it's too much suffering. She goes through a lot of suffering. You know, that she's asked to do things that are not natural to her. It's very difficult for her. And did she quit all these times? No, she kept on coming and coming and coming back. And it's not easy because she went through so many tests, okay, that her own siblings failed miserably. She's still here. That is success. Whereas, you know, these smart people say, "Oh, this doesn't make sense to me. I don't get it. Why do I have to do this? You know what? You know, I don't buy it because between parentheses, I think you don't make sense. I don't believe in you. Close parenthesis. I believe in myself. I believe in the Buddha in me. I believe in my Buddha nature." And you know what the retort is, which I never bothered? Because it's a waste of my time to retort to these losers. What is the retort? What would you say to such people? Huh? Yeah, sayonara. Basically, yeah. But if you want to teach them something that's insulting and insulting at the same time, what would you say? You need to hurry up. I cannot answer. Wait for you to give me your answers. Yeah. I didn't catch that. What did you say? Impatience. Right. Yeah, and this person is Chinese, by the way. The retort is, that's what retinues of the demon would say. That's what they would say. They would justify to themselves. That's how brutal we are. But we don't have to insult people. Let them quit. Okay? It's not about sitting in full lotus. It's about not quitting. Even though we ask you to do something is difficult. And that's chán training. Who cares about patience? Patience itself is not quitting. We don't talk about patience with her. Have you found out that she became more patient over the years? Yes. Healthier, more patient? Yes. And we never could explain patience to her. If you were to explain to her, you need to be more patient, you have to keep on coming back next year, you hear? No. She would have left. I said, why do you ask me to do something I don't like to do? I'm impatient. All right? Okay.
不好意思，刚刚其实第一个问题就是法师回答的时候的话呢，有两个点我在思考，就是一个是法师在回答的时候用了个比喻，就是说我们像水牛这个分别念， 然后的话拉他去喝水的时候，他偏偏去吃草，这样的话我们分别念就是一直在外面，但是没有安住在这个话头上，用这个比喻来说明这个问题。那就是说，我在想，就是如何把这个草，可不可以把它变成水？这是第一个问题啊。
Let me translate. Don't be too long. First, okay.
Let's say together.
Can you translate directly asking question?
你来翻译比较好。第二个问题的话呢，就是说，刚刚师兄就是说的那种觉受的话呢，有的时候我也可以升起来这个几秒钟，就是说可以安住在这个风声当中啊，或者是这个安住在当下的这个觉受当中。但是这个的话不一定是智慧，就是如何把这个觉受的这个觉性进入到这个智慧的这个体性当中去，就是说开悟的这个，就是那个切机的那个点如何进去。
Two questions. First question is, you use some kind of 比喻怎么说？Say the example about the waterfall. Suppose he drink the water, but he goes to eat grass. His question is how change the grass to the water.
I don't understand the question.
So you said you are trying to make the waterfall on the path of our topic, right?
No, not the waterfall, the water buffalo.
Yeah, the water buffalo. Yeah, the
Yeah,
water
water
buffalo.
Oh,
You said water buffalo supposed to drink water.
what is the Chinese for water buffalo?
水牛.
水牛.
Yeah, water buffalo.
So I think here what
He wants to say, suppose the water buffalo need drink water. That's the correct path. But right now the water buffalo go to the grass.
So
He
yeah.
wants to change the grass to the water. Is there any way to change that?
That's not the point of the cow herding pictures. It's not what the water buffalo wants. It's what you need the water buffalo to go on the path to enlightenment. So it's not a question of can he drink water. All that is irrelevant stuff to the principle of keeping the water buffalo on its path. What basically the little boy is doing is going down the path towards enlightenment with the water buffalo. The water buffalo is who? The water buffalo is our false thinking mind. So it's not whether you can change grass to water or water. It's not even relevant to what you're trying to accomplish.
法师的意思就是说，有时间想这个，不如专注在参禅上。
If you read you can look it up, and it has there's 10. I think there's 10, right? There's 10 stages, and then there's at these different stages. These are like 10 stages of enlightenment. Is what they are. They're representative. It's analog. It's what do you call it, a metaphor? Is that a metaphor or an analogy? Anyway, it's one of those, and it's basically just giving you the idea of why they put it in that way. It's something you can. Just a way to approach the problem.
Actually, an allegory.
Allegory.
Yeah, because it's more than, there's a bunch of metaphors. The
Yeah.
last one I remember, he's sitting on top of the buffalo.
Yeah.
The buffalo's going right way.
Yeah. It's an allegory. It's the English word for it. I don't know what the Chinese word for allegory is, but that's the English word.
Another question is, yes, he can sometimes his mind is stop and in some kind of tranquility and no false thinking, but how he can use this moment and turn into the wisdom, because this is not wisdom yet. How he can use this kind of moment when he has no false thinking, that moment turn into the wisdom or Kai Wu.
Yeah. Well, if you have no false thinking, you'll naturally attain wisdom. It'll naturally happen if you really can stop your false thinking. It will And naturally, if it just stops, another word in English could be arrest. When your mind arrests, when it stops completely, that's it'll naturally happen. It's not something, what can I do to open it? It's already happened. If you truly stop your false thinking, it stopped. Your mind, your false thinking is stopped. It's arrested. That's the beginning of samadhi. You just boom. Then you don't have. It's not. It's going to naturally happen. It's a function.
But I read from books that even people who wake up, he or she will still have some false thinking, although they don't attach it to so much. So
that's absolutely correct. That's why you have different levels of enlightenment. This first stage, second stage, third stage, fourth stage, fifth. You just go up these different stages. We all have this mind, and it continues. Even if you were able to stop it for a moment and wake up to the first stage, that's called the joy of leaving filth. Why do they call it the joy of leaving filth? It's because you've left the filth of false thinking for a moment. You've said, oh, all this thinking, good, bad, and ugly, it's all false. That's the joy. It's like a great release. You say, oh, we put so much importance to our thinking, but it's not important at all. Our thinking is all false. So when you first taste that yourself, that's the joy of leaving filth, the first stage. They call that the first.
Let me explain to you why it's called the joy of leaving filth. It's not the false thinking. Oh, yeah. It's because for normal people, they have so many desires, so much, especially sexual desire, that's driving them. Okay? So that's what happens to normal people, ordinary people. They have so many of these desires that really are pulling them in so many different directions. Sitting here, okay, you're bothered by a noise of a kid, you're thinking of food, you're thinking of sleep, you're thinking of the pain in your legs, in your back, and so forth. You pull in so many directions, okay? And you are saying, I wish I could, you want this, you want that. And that's the nature of us, of our lives, okay? We accept that as normal, okay? And it's normal where we are. That's what ordinary people, that's how ordinary people live. Okay? It's not until they meditate or they do some sort of meditation or spiritual practice and they're able to experience a state where these desires are lessened drastically, okay, and that's what is called purity, okay, and that is in contrast to the defilements or filth that we are all being agitated by. Okay? Our lives is filled with filthy desires. That's how desires are. They're filthy. And unless you meditate, unless you do some sort of spiritual practices, whether Hinduism or Tai Chi or whatever, okay, you will enter this first dhyana where some of these desires will lessen. So some of these filthy desires will cease to disrupt you, to confuse you. And that is the difference between ordinary people's state, where they live in filthy desires, okay? The Chan people, they don't beat around the bush, by the way. Desires are filthy. Don't have to be polite about it, okay? They're filthy. They're defiling you. And until you experience first dhyana, you enter samadhi, enter the first dhyana samadhi, okay? Then some of these filthy desires will stop. Will cease to function. That's the moment where you realize that, yes, I just left behind me some filthy desires. And when that happens, it feels very blissful because you are no longer being agitated by all these sort of very coarse desires. So the Chan world is extremely precise. Okay, and the Chinese, typical of the Chinese and the Buddhist Chan, Indian Chan, these names are extremely meaningful, and also at the same time it's misleading because people don't quite understand what it is. Okay, but it's very precise concept. Filthy desires. You should take from that concept. Okay? Our desires are filthy. And you cannot experience that state until you enter first dhyana or higher. Then your mind become less filthy or less impure or purer, in other words. Does it make sense? That's why we do chán. When you do chán, doesn't matter who you are, no matter how you do it, okay? Whether you sit in full lotus, half lotus, zero lotus, lying down, okay? It doesn't matter. Depending on your conditions, you will experience those samadhi states where your mind is freer, is freed up from all these filthy desires. And that's where the bliss comes from. You're no longer burdened by these agitations. So each level has a different type of experience that we'll see, that you will go through, because each state, each level of samadhi will free you from more and more of these agitations. And imagine that once you recognize that and you exit samadhi, then you actually, what happened is extremely beneficial for you. Once you, let's say, experience first dhyana, okay, and you like it, and you say, oh wow, I am no longer agitated by these things. You aren't even aware of those things. You're not that sensitive. But when you exit samadhi, these things will agitate you again. But the difference is then, it's a lot easier for you to rise above it again, or not be as affected by these filthy desires as before. That's why it's very advantageous. It's something you can use in your daily life, because yes, you still have desires, you still live like a normal person, but you have a lot more control over your own destiny, over your own life, over your own mind, because you develop the ability already. And once you reach that level, okay, of liberation, then you are no longer as agitated by those as before. Okay, so the Chan, now because this Dharma master brought it up, that's why I have to explain it to you, because it's so beautiful the way the Chan master or the Buddha explained it. This is from Shakyamuni Buddha. He called it the joy of the whatever the technical name is, but the concept is the joy arising from living filled, okay? And that's because where we live is we live in filth, filthy desires. And that's very important to understand that concept. And it's not something you can explain to people. You have to bring them there. Then you say, oh, I like it. I like myself better. I like myself more. This way. Okay? It's an internal thing. The joy you experience in yourself. The freedom that you experience inside yourself. Not because someone gives it to you. Someone gives you a praise or strokes your ego or give you some food or give you a gift. Those joys are not nowhere near the level of joy that you will experience when you practice chán. As you get higher and higher and higher, the higher your samadhi level, the more detached, the more easily detached you are from external things. And that's called mini awakening. You can let go. That's awakening. But it's called mini because it's not a real awakening yet. Okay? Because once you realize, for example, that you like to eat Japanese snacks, okay? They're great, okay? They're crunchy and they're sweet and all those things, they give you energy and so forth. But one day you realize, after you meditate, you realize these Japanese snacks are loaded with MSG. Okay? When you realize that, okay, that's similar to the awakening. Okay? And then it's easier for you to say, I'm not sure I should eat that much. Right? And then eventually you say, no, I don't want to. I prefer Korean stuff. Healthier Korean stuff. Right? So it's not until you experience that you can't really let go. You cannot. It's very hard for you to stop eating Japanese sweets because you don't know. But when you have that awakening, you say, wow, because, you eat it, and then you realize your body is thirsty, and all these things, okay? But because your body is so sick, you cannot notice it anyway. But if you have samadhi power, you see, you're a lot more aware of what's happening inside of your body naturally. And therefore, this increased awareness, okay, is a form of wisdom, mini wisdom, if you will, and which makes it easier for you to let go, and let go, and let go. Okay? It takes doing. Okay, so these are for real. This is why once you get into that, like you have, you like you love to practice because you feel freer, you feel happier. You feel better by yourself. Whereas people who don't practice, that's all they know. You need to get out of it. It's like you need to get up and look down and you see things from a different perspective. Okay? So that's what happens. You need to get there to enter samadhi for you to be able to look at things differently. That to me is more productive than doing the Hua Tou and have have no clue of where you are, where you're going, okay, and whether you're doing it right or wrong. You have no clues at all for a long, long time. That's why I don't advise that you do Hatha too slow and too difficult, especially for our times. We have too many desires. You have a lot of desires, you do Hatha, you go crazy. Who doesn't have desires? You have no desires, what are you doing here? Oh, you're here because you're pursuing desires, let's face it. All right, thank you everyone, we stop here tonight. Okay, so tomorrow we will discuss the question from Korea, the chán question from Korea, Korea's Seon. Okay? Thank you.